a lot of people have this thing that habit को form करने में 21 days लगते हैं.
I'm so glad you call it a myth because it's a complete lie. This 21 days, complete nonsense. It actually comes from a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. As soon as you change that identity to I am not a smoker, the idea of having an ashtray at home doesn't exist because you're not a smoker.
True.
The idea of having a Zippo lighter does not exist because you're not a smoker. So it's our key to start changing that identity. Think about motivation like a matchstick. You know, you light a matchstick and it burns bright, but you cannot cook Maggi noodles on your matchstick. Very often we feel that a partner comes into our life to complete us. Very often we feel that, oh my God, I'm so blessed they chose me. Right? Till you start changing your mind, you say, wait a minute, I am the prize. How do I start becoming the prize? How do I start increasing my value? So you realize that this is how you start thinking of relationships. We often think of relationships only as that other person. We never think of it as us being in that relationship as well. We want to change the other person.
वेलकम टू परसेप्शन एंड बियॉन्ड, जहां हम एक्सप्लोर करते हैं माइंडसेट शिफ्ट्स, लाइफस्टाइल चेंजेस और वो छोटी छोटी हैबिट्स जो लाइफ को ट्रूली ट्रांसफॉर्म करती हैं. आज मेरे साथ हैं एश्डिन डॉक्टर, जिनको आप जानते होंगे द हैबिट कोच की तरह, एंड एन ऑथर ऑफ 4 बेस्ट सेलर्स. वो एक लीडिंग वॉइस हैं इन हैबिट फॉर्मेशन, बिहेवियरल चेंज एंड वेलनेस. एश्डिन ने हजारों लोगों, सीईओज, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, यंग प्रोफेशनल्स की हेल्प की है उनकी हैबिट्स बिल्ड करने में, जो बढ़ाते हैं उनका एनर्जी, प्रोडक्टिविटी और पर्सनल वेलबींग. आज हम बात करेंगे कि मोटिवेशन सच में एक मिथ है या रियल फैक्ट. कैसे आप बिना विल पावर के भी हैबिट्स बना सकते हैं और कैसे स्मॉल कंसिस्टेंट एक्शंस लास्टिंग रिजल्ट्स क्रिएट करते हैं. अगर आप भी एक ऐसी लाइफ चाहते हैं जहां क्लैरिटी हो, बैलेंस हो और अपने गोल्स को ट्रूली अचीव कर सकें, then this episode is your first step. और हाँ, उससे पहले इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलें. Hi Ashdin, welcome to Perception and Beyond.
Thank you so much. Very excited to be here.
Absolutely, same as you, and I'm extremely eager to understand what habit coaching is all about, because we've heard life coaching, image coaching for that matter, but habit coaching क्या है?
It's a new thing, right? And when people ask me what is habit coaching, I have a very nice one-line answer that I give now. After a lot of iteration, my one-line answer is I help people get rid of their frustrations in life.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Because most of our frustrations are from the things that we keep doing every day over and over and over again, and we just can't figure out how to get out of them. Frustrations could be relationship frustrations, frustrations at work, health, well-being, our image, right? So all these little things stick, and our job is to understand what are these subconscious behavior patterns, tweak them so that you can then change the habits.
So what is habit? If we have to understand habit, and where has it originated from?
So the way that you think about habits, so there are obviously dictionary definitions. As a habit coach, I have a different definition of habits. My definition, and in fact in the first book I define it as any conscious or subconscious action or thought repeated at a set frequency. Mm-hmm. Now, let's break it down. We often think of habits only as subconscious, right? I don't know how I reached office, I just drove. I don't know how I brush my teeth, I just brush it every day. But not all habits are subconscious. You can't subconsciously go to a gym. You have a gym habit like you were telling me. You can't subconsciously go to the gym, right? You drop the weights on your head. You don't want that. So it's a conscious habit. At the same time, we think of habits as actions, which are, like I was saying, brushing our teeth or tying our shoelaces. But what we don't realize is that our thoughts are also habits. And this is actually the key part. You know, every morning when we wake up and we have a certain thought about life is going to be good or life is going to be bad, it actually sets up the rest of your day. So imagine if you could start tweaking your thoughts, understanding these subconscious thought patterns that exist, these habits that exist, and start changing them. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough money. I'm not pretty. You know, as soon as we start tweaking these thoughts, we can start changing the quality of our life. So that's how I start thinking about habits. Now, there's a beautiful process that habits follow. So each of these individual patterns, actions or thoughts are habits. Now, when you put a bunch of habits together, you form what is called a routine. Okay, so we have a morning routine, correct? A routine plus an emotion becomes a ritual. So you have your chai ritual. Are you a chai person or a coffee person in the morning?
Nothing.
Neither person. You're one of those strange breeds that don't
Water
have coffee.
person.
Water person. So many people say, don't talk to me till I have my chai. Don't talk to me till I have my coffee. That emotion is what forms that ritual. And rituals are the hardest to break because there's an emotion connect to it.
True.
Right? In the same way, I'm sure in the image consulting, as soon as you have an emotion connected to yourself, that image is the hardest to break.
Absolutely.
Right? The others can change easily. So that emotional ritual is the difficult one. So we have to break it down in that way, and that's how we start making changes.
So does that also mean that habit has got something or a lot to do with self-talk? Or what you keep telling yourself, is that also a contributing factor in forming a habit?
So two parts to it. There is self-talk and what you constantly are fed, right? So very often, and where do habits actually originate from? They originate from our family, our friends, and our environment, because we subconsciously absorb these things. We'll often realize that our self-talk was actually taught to us by somebody else. The "you are not good enough," which is a self-talk, was actually taught to us by either a parent. Oh, you're just like that. You're too lazy. And then that lazy becomes a self-talk, right? It's almost like that person said it once, but we've turned it into a habit by repeating it over and over and over to ourselves. So we have to realize that this has come from outside. Do we really want to live what that other person is living? Do we want to live that person's life? No, we want to create our own life. So that is when we start dismantling these thoughts and these thought patterns to get to what we actually want to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're so true. And how does our self-image shape the habits we form, and can they be changed in a particular manner? Or how do we see ourselves? Does that help break the patterns in some manner?
Absolutely. So your self-image is one of the most fundamental parts of habit change. Let me explain. Let's use smoking as an example. So there are stages. I am a smoker. I am trying to quit. I have quit, and I am not a smoker. Right? These are four identities. When somebody's been smoking their entire life, they are, I'm a smoker, I'm trying to quit, I'm trying to quit. I'm a smoker, I'm trying to quit. Then they finally manage to quit for 2 months. And then what does their identity become? I do not smoke anymore. I am not a smoker. I've quit smoking, sorry. Our job is to change that identity immediately to I am not a smoker. As soon as you change that identity to I am not a smoker, the idea of having an ashtray at home doesn't exist because you're not a smoker. The idea of having a Zippo lighter does not exist because you're not a smoker. So it's our key to start changing that identity. Now, how do we go about changing these identities? Very often, it comes down to this one word called intention setting. What is it that you truly want? You know, half the time people don't know what they really want. I'm sure half your job is spent in this, right? When you go and somebody says, हाँ मुझे image change करना है, मगर क्या change करना है? What do you want to change it to? That I don't know. But you know, I've seen this person on TV, something like this. I'm sure you must be getting this. We often try and take external influences as ways of trying to make a change, but those are the ones that don't stick, because that is actually that person's influence, that person's life. What sticks is when there is something very, very deep down that wants to change, and that is what we call intention setting.
Right.
So that intention is key for changing our identity, for changing the way that we perceive ourselves and our perception.
Very true. और ये जो habit है, I mean, a lot of people have this thing that habit को form करने में 21 days लगते हैं, 66 days लगते हैं, 70 days लगते हैं. So what exactly is the time duration that we look at? Is there a particular time duration in the first place? How can you throw some light on it and, you know, bust this myth of 21 days or 66 days or 70 days?
I'm so glad you called it a myth, because it's a complete lie. This 21 days, complete nonsense. It actually comes from a book called Psycho-Cybernetics.
well, हम तो कब से सुन रहे हैं इस चीज के बारे में?
Because it's a very nice number, na, 21. Right? It's a very catchy number. That's why it's stuck. So actually 21 days is the number of days it takes for the human body to realize that it has lost a limb and not have phantom limb syndrome, phantom leg syndrome. Had nothing to do with habits. It was a very catchy number that came in psycho-cybernetics that was then repeated over and over and over. I have never seen a habit form in 21 days. When people tell me, does it take 21 days, 66 days, 75 days? I say, what is the hurry? You want this habit for the rest of your life. So what is the hurry in trying to form it in 21 days or 75 days? The problem that I've seen is when somebody thinks that they've formed a habit, they stop working on it. Now, if they stop working on it, the habit's slowly going to go away. Which is why you have people saying, oh, I formed this beautiful habit and then I fell off the wagon and then I didn't start it again. Right? So don't think about when do I end up establishing a habit. Think about how can I grow with this habit. When you started going to the gym, the quality of gym, the amount of effort that you could put in was very, very different from what you can do now.
True.
You grew with that habit. In the same way, think about all the habits that we create, not as a destination to achieve, but as something to grow with. It's almost like a travel journey partner that you're on. So that is how you start thinking about habits. Don't be in a hurry to form them.
In fact, I would tell you about this gym thing now that you've raised this topic. I have tried going to the gym for almost like 12 to 15 years. I take the membership, I go for a couple of days and I give up. Because I kept telling myself that gym is not my cup of tea. And, gymming is not something which is very exciting or it excites me and I would prefer doing something else. I battled depression during COVID. And after I recovered, when I took the membership, I kept telling myself that this is what I need.
Yes.
And when I told this to myself, the entire narrative in my mind changed completely. And since that time till now, on the days when I don't go, I just start missing gym so badly that, I feel that I can't survive without working out.
So your intention pre-COVID was maybe body, was maybe looks, was maybe because everyone says go to the gym, I'll go to the gym. Your intention post-COVID was different. It was feel good. It was serotonin. It was making sure that I have my endorphins to take me through the day. That's a very different intention. And you realize that intention is far deeper than the surface level of body composition.
You're right.
So that's what actually makes you want to go to the gym and stick to it. In fact, so many people don't realize this, but exercise, movement is one of the best ways of mood change. And every time you're down in the dumps, if you figure out a form of movement that you enjoy, that's what you need to be doing. Dance, capoeira, Pilates, anything. Something that gives that little boost of, the endorphins or serotonin in your system.
Absolutely. I think that's the reason why I have been able to stick to gymming for quite a while now. It's been my 4th year now.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So what is the most important?
Curiosity, why did you start taking those gym memberships earlier even though you didn't like it?
I have no idea. I used to be very excited and I had that fantasy that I want to work out. I had that thing in my imagination, but after a few days, that imagination used to go for a toss. Maybe I used to feel very overwhelmed because I used to feel that everybody has such perfect body and I'm not the kind who would be able to, ever have that kind of stamina or energy or anything. So
your identity hadn't shifted to a gym person.
Could be.
Right? It was still I'm trying to enter the gym. It was not I'm a gym person.
True. Now I'm a hardcore gym person. So what is the most important factor to form a habit? Is it motivation, willpower or discipline?
So as a habit coach, my entire war is on this word called motivation. So motivation is a ganda word. We do not say it. If we say motivation, we go, tauba.
Oh my God.
Put money in the swear jar. So you're never motivated to do something. So motivation is a bad word. Okay, why is motivation a bad word? Because most people try making changes using the word motivation. I got motivated by this, so I started this diet. And how long did the diet last? 3 days. Right? Why? Because motivation burns very, very bright. So, in fact, I think about motivation like a matchstick. You light a matchstick and it burns bright. But you cannot cook Maggi noodles on your Matchstick. You need to light something that's going to be slower burning. You need something that's actually going to maintain that heat, right? So motivation is not good. Motivation comes from a place of, you see something and you get inspired by it, right? You saw something on Instagram and you got inspired by it. That inspiration, motivation combination is very short-lived.
So could that be like a short dopamine rush and then it just comes down, or it is something else?
It's a dopamine rush from the point of view of seeking something.
Huh.
So dopamine is a seeking hormone. So you're hopefully trying to seek for that body or hopefully trying to do that. Instead, we focus on our intention, like I was saying. Intention is a far slower burning one because intention goes deep. And you realize that when you're not doing that, you're actually attacking something very fundamental to you. So you don't do a habit that does not have a strong intention.
Sure.
So the way that I tell people is that, I know going and doing the marathon is very exciting. And you might want to do it because your friends are doing it and your neighbors doing it. But unless there is a strong intention behind it, there's no way you're going to continue. So you have to find that strong intention behind it. You'll notice many people start running after they've gone through something quite bad in their life.
Like how I started gymming.
So you started gymming, but you didn't start running, right? So running and psychologically has an issue with running away from your problems as well. So I'm trying to run away from a problem, so which is why I started running. For you, it could have been I wanted to get stronger.
Yeah.
Right. So there are aspects to this as well. So that's how you start thinking about it. What is my intention behind this? The example I give in the book is about yoga. Okay. So there is this client of mine who came to me saying that, Ashdin, I want to learn yoga. And I was like, fantastic. And we followed this 3 why method of getting to your intention. So I said, why do you want to learn yoga? I said, I want to learn yoga so that I can become more flexible. That's fair enough. Why do you want to become more flexible? So you ask why on whatever answer you get. So why do you want to become more flexible? I want to become more flexible so that I can sit on the ground. So I found that as a very strange one. Like, okay, fine, you want to sit on the ground?
Just sit.
Just sit. She couldn't. She wasn't flexible enough.
Huh.
So I said, okay, but why do you want to sit on the ground? Like, we got chairs, we got nice chairs. Why do you want to sit on the ground? She said, my child plays on the ground and I feel I'm missing out on playing with her because I can't sit on the ground.
Yeah.
So now you realize how deep that intention goes. Well, most of us don't have that deep intention, right? We think that, oh, I want to learn yoga because I found a good yoga teacher. I want to learn yoga because I got new Lululemon fans. Doesn't work like that. You have to find something that's so deep that's going to make a difference. So that's how you start thinking about intention. Self-discipline, all of those are just words that we use as a blame game. Oh, I don't have that self-discipline. Somebody who has self-discipline never talks about self-discipline. They talk about just doing it. Right?
True.
So we end up using these words as scapegoats. Instead of find your intention and know what it is that you want to do.
And willpower, when we talk about willpower, I have also heard many times that willpower also doesn't last for a very long time. Although it's a very commonly used term, willpower.
Yes.
But then what happens to people when it comes to having a very strong willpower and suddenly वो फुस भी हो जाता है एकदम से?
So what willpower is the ability to push outside your comfort zone. Very simply. In your comfort zone, you need zero willpower. You only need willpower when you're doing something that is outside your comfort zone. And I keep telling people is that why do you want to keep going outside your comfort zone? Your comfort zone was made for a reason. What you do instead is you start stretching your comfort zone. So, for example, the Navy SEALs and all your elite forces are given 7 days of sleep deprivation, 7 days of intense exercise. They're being broken by being pushed out of their comfort zone. We don't want to live a life that we need to break ourselves every day for because our life is supposed to be easy. We're supposed to chill. That is what life was meant for.
Correct.
And if we keep thinking, I have to push hard, I have to push hard, I have to push hard, which is what you see on social media, etc., you're going to wear out. So what I tell people is you don't think about using willpower. What you do is you think about how can you stretch your comfort zone. Today you read 1 page from your book. Tomorrow read 1.5. Day after tomorrow read 1.5. After that move to 2. What people try and do is I will finish 1 book in 1 week.
So Ashdin, एक बात बताइए, how we are conditioned in our childhood, उसका impact in terms of habits as an adult क्या आता है? Because a lot of people say कि जो आप बचपन में जो आप habits form कर लेते हैं, looking at your parents, looking at your siblings or any other family member, that is the impact that you have and you carry forward that in your adulthood.
Correct.
So ये किस हद तक सही है और किस हद तक गलत है?
So in fact, my first TEDx talk was on this topic, where we spoke about how not to blame your genes, because what you actually download from your parents are your habits, are the parents' habits. So there are genes, but genes has an aspect called epigenetics, which means you can switch it on and switch it off. You can't change your nose, you can't change the quality of your hair, or you can change the quality of hair, you can't change the nature of your hair. So all you do is you understand that you've got the habits down from your parents. Your parents loved sugar and you saw this as completely natural, so you love sugar.
When you see something, then you adapt. It's not that it's in your genes because somebody had it in the family, so you have it in the family, kind of a thing. Habits.
The habits get passed down, right? From grandparents to parent to you. Right? The way that you think about money, the way that you think about yourself, all these things are habits that are passed down to you and you have no clue that they've formed. The way that you talk, the mannerisms, the way that you sit, right? So as soon as you realize these things are happening, you condition and you understand the amount of conditioning that has taken place. That's when you start evaluating yourself. You hold up a mirror to yourself and say, listen, I've realized that my parents are doing this. This is possibly why I am doing this as well. Is this who I want to be for myself going ahead? And is this who I want to be for my children going ahead? So right now in the whole social media world, you have so many people talking about break the generational trauma now, break the generational cycle of trauma. What they're basically saying is understand what were the habits that were passed down to you and decide, are these the habits that you want to pass down to your children? For example, so many of us were brought up being manipulated with guilt. Oh, you should do this. If you're a good boy, you will do this, right? Meaning, if you love daddy, you will do this. Can you imagine growing up with that kind of guilt? That's the kind of guilt that we take into our adulthood. We realize that we're using this in our relationships. We realize we're using this in office.
Yeah.
Right? We guilt people into doing things for us in office. And we then choose whether we want to continue this for the rest of our life and for the life of whoever we bring into this world or interact with. So that is the way you start thinking about habits when it comes to learned behavior and generationally. Genes, of course, you can't do much with. That's what you were blessed with. But this you can change. And you can always change gene expression. So for example, people talk about diabetes. Diabetes runs in my family. Fair. You could have a higher chance of being diabetic. But depending on the things that you do now, you don't necessarily need to activate that gene or not. So that's how you start thinking about habits.
In fact, there's something which I wanted to, bring up. So in our family, like my son, he's the youngest amongst all the other siblings. So from the time he's started realizing food habits and all those kind of things. So there is a very comfort food in our house, Agarwal's, typical. Dal, chawal or aloo ka bhaja.
Oh, yummy.
Okay. So now this dal, chawal, aloo ka bhaja is something where ab itne chote bachche ko at that point of time, he didn't know what is dal, chawal, aloo bhaja. So first time when it was introduced to him, so my husband said, ये तो हमारे फैमिली में सब खाते हैं and he will also like it. चलो इसको भी खिलाओ. And dal, chawal, aloo bhaja is not my favorite. I have not been brought up, in that dal, chawal, aloo bhaja culture. But my son, because he's been fed this, that ये हमारे family में सब खाते हैं, so he also developed that taste, but now he loves it. He's like very fond of it. And then everybody's like, oh, you are a typical Agarwal because you've also started loving dal, chawal, aloo bhaja. I said, मुझे पता है कहाँ से आया है ये.
See?
Because, you've been told, he's been told that, okay, yeah, this is what people eat in our family and all of us like it. But specifically, my son is very fond of it because everybody else also loves it and he's been told that it's everyone's favorite.
Everyone loves it. You also like it.
Yes.
When he sees a smile on everyone's face, it means it's good.
So it's a habit which has got formed. कि हाँ वो दाल चावल आलू भाजा बनेगा तो that is something which is like, oh, that's the most
Heaven.
amazing heavenly food.
Fears are like this. Fear of cockroach, fear of lizards, fear of snakes. Children don't have that. It comes when, some parent or family member goes,
Screams.
"Ee!" And then you realize, acha, every time I see that, I have to do, ee. So that's how you actually realize that all these fears are, and we don't know that we're doing this to our children. Right? We don't know that we're transferring these things on. So it is all about just becoming more conscious. Like we keep telling people, the entire game about habits is holding a mirror to yourself. As a habit coach, I hold a mirror to you. You realize this is happening. You realize this is happening. Half the time you don't realize this is happening.
So tell me, I mean, if you can share some case study, a very interesting one where, somebody engaged you to change certain habits. ऐसा कभी हुआ है?
वही तो करता हूँ मैं. So there are very interesting case studies from when people want to form relationships, for example. For some strange reason, now lots of people are coming to me who want to either get into a relationship or improve the relationships that they have because they've suddenly realized that relationships are nothing but habits. Every time you and your partner fight, have you noticed that it's always the same thing going back and forward? This person will say this, you'll say this person will say this, you'll say this, you'll suddenly realize there is the same fight happening 100 times over. That's a habit. So we don't realize that we form these habits subconsciously, right? So what happens is that even when we are dating or when we want to form a relationship, there are so many subconscious habitual thoughts that we have that play a role in the way that we choose a partner. And which is why the same kind of partner keeps coming back to us.
Yeah.
That person cheated on me. Next person also cheated on me. Third person also cheated on me. Till we realize that, acha, it's not them. It's something that I am doing. Now can I figure out?
So what is that thing? Because a lot of people have come to me and said that पहले भी relationship में यही problem हुई और दूसरे relationship में भी यही problem हुई.
Correct.
Ultimately, there are 2 divorces.
There you go. And it gets better. The more times you get married, the more times you get divorced, the likelihood of getting divorced increases. Right? So the percentage increases dramatically. Till about, hopefully by the 3rd divorce, 4th divorce, you realize it's not the other person, it's you. Right? And that's when you start making that change. So let me put it this way. Why does the same kind of person keep coming back? It's because you haven't learned something that you were meant to learn. You trusted somebody because they showed a particular pattern to you. Very often that pattern is something very familiar. Maybe something that came from your family. Maybe something that came from your father. Maybe something that came from your mother. Which is why you say, this feels safe. Very often when you come from a home where there is trauma or where there is guilt tripping, narcissism, you'll end up choosing a partner that is narcissistic, that is guilt tripping, because you feel at home in that situation. It sounds strange, but you feel home because this is what actually the home felt like. Till you realize that no, this is not the kind of life that I want to continue leading. This is not the kind of life that I want for myself. I want to change how I approach people. That's when you start creating what we call boundaries. Boundaries are what? Boundaries are very interesting things. Boundaries are how we value ourselves. So the example I give is, and this came to me when I was doing a podcast from my farm. During COVID, we were stuck on my farm for 8 months.
Okay.
And I looked at my farm and I realized that I only know the value of this farm because there's a boundary around it. I know it's 8 acres because there's a boundary. If the boundary line wasn't there, I wouldn't know where it ended. So what we do is we redraw our boundaries. We rechange the value of what we've created as our image or as who we are as people. And that's when that change starts taking place in the kind of partners that we start getting. Very often we feel that a partner comes into our life to complete us. Very often we feel that, oh my God, I'm so blessed they chose me. Right? Till you start changing your mind, till you say, wait a minute, I am the prize. How do I start becoming the prize? How do I start increasing my value? So you realize that this is how you start thinking of relationships. We often think of relationships only as that other person. We never think of it as us being in that relationship as well. We want to change the other person. Person A has come. Person B has come. Person C has come. What has stayed the same? Me. So till person A goes and me changes, B will come and go.
Yeah.
So that me has to change is very important, which people don't do. They hope that the external person is going to be
But
the
me
factor.
कैसे change होगा?
You change me by understanding your patterns first. And then you don't pull out a pattern. So how do you change habits? This is very interesting. Very often, how do we think about changing habits? You think of yanking the old habit out and throwing it away, right? An extreme format. But as soon as you yank a habit out, remember I told you habits form routines. What has happened is there's a gap that has now formed. If you don't plug in that gap consciously, something random will come and sit in that gap. That random thing's probably going to be worse than what you actually had removed. So you don't remove a habit, you replace a habit. So how I work with clients is that I say, okay, if this is your pattern, let's start putting in these habits first. Once I've put in enough habits, only then do I start removing certain ones. Otherwise, the whole system collapses, right? And something far worse might end up taking place.
That's a very interesting thing to even think about, because people just very flatly say that ये तो मेरी habit है और मेरी habit बचपन से है तो मैं तो अब change नहीं कर सकता. And I've heard this n number of times. I think I would have said this to myself many times that, I have this habit from childhood. I can't change it. But I don't think, is there any age limit for people to change habits, or is this something that बचपन में कुछ कर लिया तो कर लिया, बड़े होके change नहीं हो सकता?
You can teach old dogs many, many new tricks. So my clients are all the way up to the 70s, 80s as well. And what we realize, so, people talk about reincarnation, right? You die and you become something new, and reincarnation. Do you believe in reincarnation? And I say, do you realize that you're reincarnating in this life? When you were a child, you used to poop in your pants. Do you still poop in your pants? No. Was that person the same as what is sitting in front of me now? No. Right? So who says that the next version of you is going to be the same as right now?
Correct.
You can create a new version of you. And creating these versions of ourselves is very, very critical.
And I think evolving as we age, or as we, change in terms of our lifestyle, our, different things that happen to us, maybe even the demographics change in certain way. We evolve over a period of time. And when we evolve, we leave certain things behind. And those could be the things where we can probably introspect and see that maybe are these the things that we never should have adapted, but since now we have left them behind, we have left them for the good. But like that, even habits can evolve.
Yes.
Right? Over a period of time, you can change certain habits, you can adapt new habits. And staying stuck with that mindset that I can't change or my habits can't change, I think it's going to take you nowhere.
You are changing whether you like it or not. Most people are frustrated are people who stay stagnant, right? Image consulting. Let me give you your example. This is my version of what you do. How is image formed? You do things, other people have formed an image of you. What you tell people, I'm guessing, is that no, you first form an image of yourself.
Of course.
Then it gets projected out.
Of course.
It's far better to be in control of the image that you project than have somebody come up as your self-image. So the way to think about this is, how do you break and tweak it? So we were, while we were preparing for this podcast, I asked you, do you remember my beard being this long? All of these were moments for me to evolve. The way that I like doing it is, I like seeing a change. So it could be hair changing, it could be the way that I dress, it could be my body changing. All of these are very nice signals of a new version of Ashdin coming out. I remember I started this when I was in college. The first time I ever shaved my head off. Right? I shaved my hair and I was like, the old Ashdin has gone. The new Ashdin is now coming in. And in this way, I like making these drastic shifts in identity, because then I know, okay, now onwards, this is who I am going to be. And I love writing it down, forming this. There's a beautiful letter that Michael Jackson wrote to himself. Have you read that letter ever? Oh, you must read it someday, either on social media, etc. It starts off by saying, I am no longer Michael Jackson. I will be now known as MJ. I will not be known as that kid that sang ABC, etc., etc. I will be the world's best singer, actor, this. For this, I need to employ the best coaches in the world to be able. He's actually written down his entire game plan way before it happened. He wrote down his identity shift that took place. So I love doing that. I love writing down who this version of Ashdin is going to be now and then moving it in that direction.
So I don't think that I have ever written something like this, but I keep talking to myself and I keep going back to see from where I have reached here, my journey so far.
Yes.
So I started off with a person who was a rebellious kid, a college dropout, then somebody who became a homemaker. Then again, I decided that I want to change my life. I started working in an airline. I moved from a smaller city to a bigger city. Then a lot of transformation happened. That was like a game changer for me. And then life has just been moving ahead. I have never looked back
Yes.
in life. And why has this happened is primarily because I never wanted to be where I was. Also because of my circumstances, and also I think God never allowed me to think that, सोचना है कि क्या करना है कि आगे बढ़ना है. So at that point of time, I think I had no option but to move ahead in life. And it's just happened by luck, by chance. But what has actually happened within me is that I've always told myself that I'm not going to be here for a very long time. I have to move ahead. And that is why I have always been moving ahead. Starting this podcast was a decision in 2 days. So it's almost like deciding overnight that I want to start. I don't know what happened. I did not even discuss this with my husband. I just told him that I want to start a podcast. He said, "Acha, theek hai." And he started with his work and, he said, "Acha, theek hai, karegi kuch." And, at some point of time, the next moment I have registered, I have done the domain, this, that and all that. I said, "Okay, theek hai, ho gaya. I'm just going to see the location." Like, which location? I'm going to see the place where I'm going to start my podcast. This is the 3rd day.
Amazing.
And the next very week, the podcast planning, execution, everything started.
Yes.
So I don't give opportunity to my own mind to rethink, procrastinate, or, drop the idea.
So what you mastered is a very interesting principle. So the latest book, Small Actions, Big Results, is about this. Most people think, most people talk, they never take that action. What you did was the smallest possible action, which was what? Domain name register karo. Right? What is the next smallest thing? Okay, let me find if there are any studios around. These were small actions that you did. What do most people do, people who feel they procrastinate or people who stay stagnant, is they are in their mind saying, no, tomorrow I have to record the whole podcast. They've not broken it down into the small actions that are needed to do this. They are seeing it as one big action that needs to happen. So what we have to do is realize that you have to break it down into these tiny things and then take those steps forward.
See, I never allowed myself to think that, अरे guest कहाँ से आएगा? अरे ये कौन होगा? क्या होगा? I am like, if I want to do something, things will work for me.
That certainty is needed.
Yes. Things will work for me. My guest will come. From where they will come, I have no idea. But my guest will come.
And the certainty was there in college as well?
I always knew that I'll do something on the stage. I'm not a person who's going to be like a behind the scene kind of a person. So when I was a kid, I watched a movie of Vinod Khanna. And he was, on the balcony hanging outside. So he was doing something where he was jumping. All these heroes, they do all those weird things.
Correct.
The next minute, I was like a 6-year-old kid, 5-year-old kid. I'm hanging outside the balcony waiting for my uncle's car to pass so that I can jump. This is from the 6th floor.
Wow.
And suddenly my dad saw me that I'm hanging like this and I'm like almost there. And he was like, he got a shock of his life because I would have died. Now he came, he was like normally having a conversation with me and suddenly caught me from my hair and he pulled me up. It's like, what the hell were you doing there? I said, I was waiting for my chacha to come and then I would have jumped on his bike or car, whatever, I don't remember. So these are the kind of things that I have done, when I was a kid. And I've been very acha karna hai to karna hai. I mean, sometimes it can go against you also, but then,
So that's a learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't try, you don't
wo
fail.
To
if you
learning
don't fail,
kya
you don't
hota,
learn.
I would have crash landed on his car.
Next life ka learning experience, na? Reincarnation.
True, but then I mean, it's necessary to give opportunities to yourself, which is very important, and don't overthink too much. No. I've never done that in life, and that is why I feel that I am where I am today.
Overthinking is very interesting. Overthinking is basically having a thought that you don't want to be thinking.
True.
Right? Overthinking is what? Our mind are constantly thinking. Overthinking is when you have a repetitive thought that you don't want to be thinking that wants to be heard. So all you do is hear the thought goes away. Half the time we never let the thought finish what it wants to say.
Correct.
So it keeps coming back saying, Arey, listen to me, Arey, listen to me, Arey, listen to me. So for me, writing is listening to my thoughts. You probably have mastered the art of listening to it in your head. For many people, they don't process through their head. So writing, journaling becomes very, very important because that's how they process the thoughts out.
Correct. Absolutely. So I think in that manner only, I was a hardcore non-vegetarian at one point. So it just happened that suddenly something came in my head that, why am I doing this? The next very moment I decided that I don't want to eat non-vegetarian, and it's been 6 years. I don't touch non-veg, and now more of a reason why, because I'm a hardcore animal lover, like I just told you some time back. So I feel very proud of certain decisions that I take in my life, but I don't go on the terrace and say, "Arey, kal se main non-vegetarian chhod rahi hu," and all those kind of things. If I've done that thing in my head that, acha ye decision ho gaya, from tomorrow I'm not going to eat. Let people notice I'm not eating non-vegetarian. But I'm not going to make a announcement about it that, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. It doesn't work like that for me.
Yeah, because then it becomes an ego game. The biggest problem with nutrition, so when we talk about nutrition on the podcast, etc., these are all very dangerous things to talk about because nutrition is like religion now. If you talk about religion, people are like, oh, tentative. Nutrition is exactly like that. If I say I'm a carnivore, you're a vegetarian, you're a this, khalas. Nobody is letting the other person live. They are like, no, you must do the way that I have doing it because now I've figured it out myself.
Correct.
So the whole thing about nutrition, religion, politics, all of that, these are now becoming very, very taboo topics to
Absolutely.
discuss.
Absolutely. So, what if you're stuck in a loop of habits that give instant dopamine, but also a long-term regret, like late night snacking or probably, waking up late. And I know a lot of people who have this issue and they're not able to do anything about it, even procrastination for that matter.
Correct.
What can
Sugar
these
addiction
people
again,
do? Sugar addiction, yes, even amongst kids. So then how do we get out of these kind of habits?
So there are hormone-related addictions, there are chemical-related addictions as well. So the way to do it is in two forms. I'll tell you how I handle sugar, not necessarily how you would do for smoking. That's a different way. Each one needs a little bit of finessing. Sugar is very interesting because sugar is everywhere, right? And sugar is a huge dopamine hit. Sugar is far more a dopamine hit than cocaine, etc. You've read this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So the only way to get rid of sugar is to do a 30-day no sugar challenge. Okay? The first time I did it was a 100-day no sugar challenge. I used to be such a sugar person. So sugar in my family was, you're feeling sad? Sugar. You're feeling happy? Sugar. I used to have 2 big spoons of sugar in my chai every day.
Hare baap re.
So it was like that. Sugar was me. And I had then started my whole health journey, etc., 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 but sugar was still part of it. Then a friend of mine came and told me that, listen, Ashdin, another friend, stays in Delhi, she's doing a 100-day no sugar challenge because she's addicted to Coca-Cola. She drinks 2 Coca-Colas a day.
Oh.
2 liters of Coca-Cola a day.
Oh my God.
2 liters. I realized that
Okay.
2 Coca-Cola, 2 liters. So that's what she used to do. So I said, I've never heard of a no sugar challenge. I'm talking about, 14 years ago, long time back. So I said, I will support her. Stranger supporting her. So I suddenly said, no sugar. I suddenly realized I can't have my ketchup. Ketchup has sugar.
Sugar, loads
Can't
of sugar.
have beer. Can't have this. Can't have that. Everything started going from my life. This challenge taught me, one, that you don't require sugar to live. Two, how much stuff has sugar in it, and what are all the unhealthy things? Salad dressing has sugar in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what nonsense are we having in the name of health, right? So that's how I suddenly realized all of this, and it made such a dramatic difference. My quality of skin changed, my energy through the day changed, my body changed, everything changed, and I fell in love with it. Then ever since then, we started doing these 30-day challenges online with people, because 100-day challenge was too hard. People got scared. 30-day challenges, and they started seeing a difference. What the challenge does with these kinds of things is it teaches you that for 30 days, you've not had that dopamine hit. There's no reason to having it. It resets the receptors. So the next time around, even if you have a little bit, you get the same feeling. What we otherwise do is we need this much for that feeling. It has reset it to this much. So every few months, do this kind of a challenge. Then you don't need to do the challenge anymore till it's anyway left your system. That's one way of handling this. The other way of handling this is to slowly reduce it. So for example, for cigarette smoking, if you're smoking 15 cigarettes a day, break it down to 14, 13, 12, 10, slowly. You'll then reach a place where you can't figure out how to remove anymore. You'll have probably 4 cigarettes in a day. Because these 4 cigarettes are now associated with time and place during your day. In the morning when I wake up, I need my first cigarette, time and place. After work, I need 1 cigarette, time and place. Before, when I'm drinking outside, I need 1. So you realize that then what you have to do is start tweaking those habits. You wake up in the morning and you do something else. You replace that smoking. And that's how you start breaking that. So there are different approaches to these kinds of habit changes, especially like you said, that are dopamine related, that are very addictive in nature.
In fact, when you spoke about smoking, my husband used to smoke 2 packs a day.
Wow.
And every time I'm calling on his extension, his cabin, he's not there because he's hanging outside smoking. I think half his time, even during the office hours, he used to spend outside because he had this thing of that motivation to go out and smoke.
Correct.
But from last 8 years, on one particular day, he just decided that he wants to quit smoking. And from next day, he started saying that I don't smoke.
Identity shift.
Yes. Bas uske baad se, there is one last dabba that he bought, which is kept in the cupboard just for, the sake of memory that this was the last pack that I bought. He has never touched smoking. I mean, cigarettes. But that's been really amazing in terms of that shift in identity. And I think he was learning or reading something, some podcast or some material or something. And that is what really inspired him to bring that identity shift.
Yes.
No motivation, no willpower, because he tried it a couple of times earlier also.
Work.
It has never worked. But this time when he shifted his identity to becoming a non-smoker, that is when it worked, and it has, touch wood, been very, very effective.
What do you replace his time with? More
work. Everything.
Finally started working.
He's not moving out of his cabin. And I felt that his productive time was also actually going in cigarettes.
Yes.
So that was something which was like really worrisome. And health angle also. 2 packs a day is not a joke.
No, not at all.
So yeah.
I love intermittent fasting, for example. And I've realized that intermittent fasting is beautiful for me because it gives me so much time to work. Right? I'm not spending time about kya khana hai, not thinking about it. I'm not taking a break. I'm not doing any of that. It's just beautiful. Just like you breeze through the day. So it's exactly like that. It just replaces it.
True. But what about people who actually, wake up late in the morning? They can't, you will not believe, my first job at the age of 19, I quit because I couldn't get up early. In 3 days, I left my job. Don't ask me. So I had to, this was a school administrative officer. And I was supposed to report at 7:45.
Too early. I would have quit as well. Don't worry. High five. So basically what happens is that we don't realize that our morning starts the night before. If you want to have a great morning and whatever you need to do, you have to first focus on the night before. We try and only focus on the morning. But you have to focus on what's happening at night. Are you sleeping on time? Are you sleeping earlier? Are you resting well? And focus on actually the sleep habits more than the wake up habits. Also, the second important thing is most people don't have something to wake up for. They're waking up forced.
Exactly.
Right? You were forced to wake up at, I'm guessing 6 for that 7:45.
True.
Right? You didn't want to wake up. You didn't necessarily want that job either. There was no excitement in it. You're being forced into it. What I tell people is always have something to wake up for. So you wake up excited. Right? It could be your workout. It could be morning coffee for many people. Like I remember for me, coffee became a habit when we got a new coffee machine. And there was so much excitement in going and grinding the beans and then tamping it.
True.
And then praying that you got the right kind of coffee out every time. So that musti is what made me interested in waking up as well. So like that, you have to figure out what part of excitement can you bring to your day that's going to make you wake up in the morning.
True. I think that makes a lot of sense because I know somebody who can't wake up before 11:30 in the morning. But then if there is any interesting work that comes up, this person is ready at 6 and out of the house.
Possibly couldn't sleep also out of the excitement.
True. So I think what you wake up for is very, very important. And also, what time do you sleep? Because usually people, when they focus on what time you have to wake up,
Correct.
do not realize that sleeping on time also makes a lot of difference to not make you feel groggy and, that hangout kind of a feeling.
So we in fact have a sleep alarm. So it was very funny. Once we had guests at home and my alarm, dad's alarm and mom's alarm all went off at the same time. And I was into Cutlet, so I set up the system where all the lights dimmed. So we're in the middle of dinner, alarms have gone off, lights have dimmed, and the guests are wondering what's going on. But the thing is that, you set these little systems up to help you succeed in whatever it is that you're doing.
True.
So the sleep alarm is a beautiful one that you can create. In fact, one of my first podcasts that I'd done on the Habit Coach was this on many people dread Monday morning. So they have this Monday morning blues. And as a result, they start dreading their Sundays. Oh my God, the weekend's over.
Yeah.
Now look at what a dhabbu they are. They have spent the entire week waiting for the weekend. Now the weekends come. They're not enjoying the weekend because now they're worrying about the week again. So what we do is we then give people something exciting to do every Monday. Go for a movie, go meet a friend, find a new place that you want to go out for dinner. Don't wait for the weekend to do that. Make Monday that exciting moment. So then you don't dread it in the way that you've been doing it so far.
So what we came up with was that when you have Monday blues, wear blues. So on that day, you have to wear something very exciting in blue color.
In blue color.
Yeah.
So it's not that you wear something else to combat the blue feeling. Don't wear yellow.
No. Wear blues to, get away
from the
Monday
feeling.
Blue.
Sweet.
So that was something we started and people got excited to get ready and, wear something very exciting in a blue color and things like that.
Nice, cute.
But yeah, I mean, people do have those Monday blues and they ruin their Sunday because of that.
They ruin their Sunday because of it.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, we don't realize we're doing half these things. By Sunday afternoon, everyone's now dreading what's going to happen on Monday. But you have the rest of Sunday.
Correct.
Enjoy it thoroughly.
Correct.
Monday is going to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, लोग नए हैबिट्स तो शुरू कर देते हैं, बना भी लेते हैं, शुरू भी कर देते हैं, लेकिन उसके ऊपर स्टिक नहीं कर पाते. आई एम श्योर a lot of people must be coming to you also that मैंने ये वाली हैबिट शुरू कर दी लेकिन मुझसे नहीं हो रहा है ये, अब क्या करूं? So आपके हिसाब से top 3 reasons क्या हैं because of which they are not able to continue with those habits which they've formed?
The 3 reasons. The first one is that the habit that they've chosen is too hard to do. It's beyond their current capability. It's beyond their current skill set. So what you do is you either tone it down or choose a different habit. Okay? Like you said, you currently wake up at 8:30. Now you want to wake up at 5:30. Outside your skill set. You can't do that.
True.
So you've chosen something that is too hard to do. The second one is you've chosen something where you don't have an interest at all. You're doing it because somebody has told you to do it. How many
Or you
times?
just got excited about it and
Or you got
instantly,
excited about it and said that chalo I will.
मैं भी try करूँगा.
And you don't. So many musical instruments are bought like this, right? You
Yeah.
saw somebody playing the guitar and say, I'm also going to play the guitar. And you realize this is not your cup of tea at all. You don't want to cut your nails, so forget you're never going to end up playing the guitar. So you realize that you're not going to do this. So it's outside your skill set, which is why we drop. When that happens, I say, please drop it. There are enough habits to choose from. There are enough musical instruments to choose from. And people tell me, Ashdin, I have so many books that I've picked up, but I've never finished a book. And I keep telling people that it's not your job to finish a book. It's the author's job to keep you interested for you to finish the book. Correct? So understand when it's time to let go of something. So let go of it completely. And the third part is that life gets in the way. What does that mean? Some people live very erratic lives. Suddenly, mummy will come and tell something. Suddenly, you have to travel somewhere. You have to do this, you have to do that. There is no consistency in the way that you've created your life. And as a result, the consistency of a habit won't survive. In the third case, what I tell people is first try and resolve as much as you can in the environment. The second thing is to understand that you will always fall off the wagon. All habits, even me, I will fall off the wagon. But the job is to get back onto the wagon as fast as possible without beating yourself up. We beat ourselves up. And we beat ourselves up how? By saying, I don't have the self-discipline. I don't have the motivation. I don't have the this. I don't have the that. So that's why these words have to be removed.
So which means that even if you go a little off track sometimes, you should not think that ab to nahi ho payega. Come back.
Come back if it is something that's interesting. And if it is something that's in your capability or ability. Please come back. You have to learn to get back onto the habit bandwagon. Otherwise, you're lost. And then you'll continue having that feeling that you're not good enough about it. So very often when people come to me, one of the biggest questions, in fact, online is, Ashdin, how do I improve my self-confidence? I'm sure people must be coming to you for confidence training as well. And I have two answers to this. The broader answer is be the person who you say you are. It's the first one. But the second one is do the things that you say you're going to do, which is easier because there's smaller steps. Very often we don't do the things that we say we'll do because they're outside our ability. So choose things that are inside your ability. You don't have to be Superman right from the get-go. That is where you begin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes complete sense. So Ashdin, tell me, are you repeating or are we repeating our habits because they work for us or because they're easy to make us feel comfortable?
We are repeating our habits because we don't know that we have them. Is step one. So most of the things,
part of our lifestyle now.
It's part of who we think we are, and we don't know that we're doing it. So step one is to figure out that we're doing it. We've said this in the past. What happens is that most of the ways in which we behave, we've never seen. So one of the things I love telling people is record yourself. Hear yourself. Record yourself.
Achha.
Your hand actions, your behaviors, the kind of words that you use. We all use filler words when we're talking, for example. So those filler words you realize are habits that you've never really actually spent time listening to. So you become aware of that. So our entire game is about awareness now. It's very interesting in the spiritual world, habits are not good things. Because habits make you live a subconscious life. And the whole idea of spirituality, meditation, etc. is to get into a more conscious state of being. So the way that I tell people is, you are already subconsciously doing so many things, become conscious, put in things that are moving you in a direction that you want to be moving in, and then allow them to be conscious again. So you follow the subconscious, conscious, subconscious, conscious method, and you then start moving in that way.
So eventually it becomes like a learned behavior.
Correct. It becomes a part of who you are. But when you want to live a life full of consciousness, remember we tell people saying each bite become conscious about when you put in your mouth, how you mindfulness, for example. That is taking a habit and breaking it up back into its components so you're conscious about each of the steps that you're doing. And that's where the whole mindfulness part comes back in.
True, absolutely. What is that one habit that can vastly improve someone's self-worth and eliminate self-doubt?
Gratitude is the biggest one that I've realized. Gratitude is this very, very powerful one. When gratitude exists, fear cannot exist in your life. And gratitude is something that we often take for granted. We have so many things in our life that are going for us. We can't focus on them. We're taking everything for granted. Gratitude brings all of that back in focus.
How do you practice gratitude?
So it's one of the first habits I tell every client of mine. Every morning, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Write down. So sit with your tea, coffee or hot water. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. It can be a person, it can be a thing, or it can be a situation. So I am grateful to my mother, person. I am grateful for this pen that I'm using to write. I am grateful for this particular situation where we are recording. And what happens is that you start writing these things down. The clincher is that for the first 30 days, 1 month, you cannot repeat a single thing. So you have to now think of 90 things to be grateful for. That's actually where the powerful part comes in. Because you can think of 5 things, 7 things, 10 things, 20 things, chalo. 30 things? 90 things?
So, gratitude is not just about being grateful to people.
No.
But also being grateful in the situation that you are in, and also about the resources that are available to you and you are using them efficiently.
Correct. What is gratitude? Gratitude is a feeling of someone has done something for you without asking for anything in return. Something is there in your life that is adding value without asking anything in return. It's not a transaction. I love you, that is why you will love me. No, transaction. Like I give examples, very often we think about gratitude as only something very dramatic that has happened in my life. It can be something small, like the sabzi wala added a little extra dhania for you.
True.
Right? You can be grateful for the little dhania that you got from the sabzi wala. It doesn't have to be something so dramatic. And the beauty of writing this down every day is, one, you get new things, but then you also start remembering things that happened to you in your childhood. And you realize that life has always been very beautiful. It is that we've been focusing on all the stuff that was ugly. What we don't realize as emotions is that 75% of our emotions are all negative emotions. Only 25 are positive emotions. 25% are positive emotions. As a result, we are by default negative oriented. So in order to live a positive life, we have to start focusing more and more and more on the positive emotions. We have to start understanding moments of joy. We have to start creating moments of celebration. We have to spend time remembering aspects of gratitude. We have to fill our life with hope for the future. So these are things that we have to consciously start putting in, otherwise you're going to default back into a negative framework.
That's so amazing. In fact, while you were just saying this and towards the end of what you just said, I was thinking that maybe today we'll all sit as family members and we will actually do this gratitude practice all together. Maybe 3 things that you are very grateful for.
Yes.
And we've not done that ever. So maybe if we start doing something like this, I think it also will give us that thought that, kitni cheezein hain that we can be grateful for.
Yes.
Very, very insightful.
What we can do also as a family is we create a gratitude jar. And you have a little post-it next to it. Everyone writes something that they're grateful for and puts it inside. And when we are fighting or when we are feeling sad, we pull something out from the gratitude jar. When you can't possibly think of something grateful for, that you're grateful for, you remind yourself of something that you have been grateful for in the past.
Absolutely.
So you can use these as tools to change your mood.
True. Very true. You worked with so many people, बहुत टाइप के लोगों के साथ आपने काम किया होगा. Does changing surrounding also help in forming habits or changing habits?
Your environment is a big one. In fact, one of the books I wanted to write was called Habitat Habits. Because the way that you create habits around you are all a function of the habitat that you live in. If you're surrounding yourself with donuts, sugar, pastries, etc., that is going to be your default choice. If you I'll give you a very interesting one. When you were growing up, do you remember how your hall at home was oriented? It was never facing a TV. It was facing each other. Chairs were facing each other. Then, when we started getting TVs into our home, the entire format of the home slowly started shifting. Our hall started facing the TV. And you suddenly realize that TV has become the most important part of that house, not people. So you realize how a small change like this can affect the entire behavior of society, where we suddenly became addicted to television back in the day. We used to eat in front of the TV. Mummy used to cut her vegetables in front of the TV. Everything used to happen in front of the TV because that became the focus center point. In the same way, figure out what your focus center point is right now at home and figure out one thing that you can change. Very often when people are feeling stuck in life, I don't know what to do, I'm feeling agitated. And we all go through these moments. I tell them the first thing you can do is clean up your room.
Yeah.
Just go throw things away, clean it up. And that process itself starts the momentum of change. It gives you that little bit of momentum that you can gather in order to bring change in your life. So your environment plays a very, very important role.
Clearing the clutter.
Clear the clutter, get rid of it, get rid of your old clothes.
We do that in image consulting. That is also known as wardrobe evaluation, where we understand that what are the kind of clothes that you don't need.
Correct.
What are the clothes that are lying from last 6 months and you've never worn? Remove all of that. Sometimes the clutter is there around you and you're not realizing.
Yes.
And
Especially
these
when
things
it's
help. Yeah, these
in
things
your
help.
wardrobe.
Absolutely.
So I was planning the wardrobe for our shoot today, and I wore a pair of pants, and I was like, no, these are too tight around the legs. These are too this, these are too that. All of them have now gone into one bag that's going to be given away. So your podcast has helped me clear my clutter.
In a way,
so
you've done your wardrobe evaluation.
Full wardrobe evaluation has happened.
After my document came to you yesterday.
After the document on what's going to go with the purple jacket.
Absolutely. That's something very exciting because like I said that I'm in the process of changing the document a little bit.
Correct.
I think a lot of people will get a little hang of ki image management hota kya hai. So what are the 3 ways to form a good habit, especially if you have a very busy schedule? Because a lot of people say मेरे पास time नहीं है. कुछ भी नया करने के लिए या कुछ भी change करने के लिए मेरी life में मेरे पास time नहीं है. So for example, even exercising every day, for their own health, people don't have time to probably devote 45 minutes or 1 hour. So how on earth will they be able to change their habit for the good?
So every time somebody tells me that they don't have time, I tell them you have to replace I don't have time with it is not a priority. Everyone has time for everything. There are billionaires running 25 companies and working out and doing everything. Everyone has time for everything. You just have to realize, is it a priority for you or not? And it's perfectly fine not to say it's not a priority.
Right.
So for example, when I was writing my 3rd book, I think, at that point of time, I had changed my priority to writing and meditation, not exercise. So I was exercising twice a week from 5 times a week. It became twice a week. And when people told me, Ashdin, you're like, letting yourself go, you're doing this, you're doing that. I said, right now, it's not a priority for me. I didn't say I don't have time. I didn't say I want to do this. Yeah, but what to do? I can't, I don't have time. It is not a priority for me. I know where my priorities lie. This is what I'm doing. So the first one is to know what your priorities are. Maybe work is your priority. Family is not your priority right now. Don't say I don't have time for them. Not a priority. Step 1. Step 2 is to realize that any habit that you want to be doing can be broken down into something small.
Okay. How?
What does that mean? You want to start exercising? You can do a 4-minute Tabata exercise. Everyone has 4 minutes. Right? 4 minutes of Tabata is what? 20 seconds of high intensity, 10 seconds off. 20 seconds high intensity, 10 seconds off. It's there on my YouTube page. You can just follow along every day. Lots of people do that. They just put the video on and do 4 minutes and they are done. That's a great way of starting your exercise habit. I don't have time to worry about my diet. Fantastic. Carry 1 fruit with you. You have the time to carry 1 fruit. I don't have time to meditate. Great. What are you doing in the car or in the bus or in the train when you're going? Correct. So how you have time You just have to take out those 5 minutes. You have to take out those 10 minutes from it, as long as it's a priority for you.
You know, people are very busy these days because there is something called mobile phone. And it's not, we can't just complain about kids, even us. We are also hooked on to our mobile.
Completely.
So, how, even if we want to, we are not able to change that habit.
Yes.
उसका क्या करें? कैसे उससे बाहर निकल सकते हैं? Because that's something which I think a lot of people are frustrated about because they're not able to overcome this habit of giving away some time so that they are able to spend quality time with their family or do something more productive than just watching the screen all throughout.
And the worst thing is everyone in the family is doing the same thing. Right?
All sitting together and doing the
Sending memes to
same
each other.
thing. Yeah.
What I tell people is realize that it's not a shortfall or a shortcoming in you. Very often we blame ourselves, saying that I am not strong enough to break this addiction. I am not weak. I'm too weak. I give in to it. Please understand that companies are spending billions and billions of dollars trying to keep you addicted.
Right.
Every time they're coming up with a new way. Earlier on, we never had scrolling. We started scrolling because it resembles gambling. Right? It is with that next dopamine hit, next dopamine hit, next dopamine hit. You never had likes. Likes again give you that dopamine hit of if someone is going to like what I put out or not. So you've realized that companies spend so much money, the color schemes that they're using to try and keep you addicted.
Oh, wow.
What is our little bheja going to do versus this billions of dollars?
True.
Correct? We don't have a hope in hell. So the only way that we can do it is by creating rules and creating clear cutoff points. So one of the rules is at home, there are only 3 places where you are allowed to keep your phone or use your phone. There is one sofa that you can use it. There is one maybe desk that you can use it. And there are certain parts where a phone is not allowed at all. So not allowed in the bedroom, not allowed in the toilet, not allowed on the dining table. When you start creating these small rules, what have you done is you've created a moment of pause between your phone and yourself. Another great way is to come home and give your phone to your partner and say, put it in the drawer, I don't want to see it. Because what if there's an emergency? When was the last time you had an emergency? Never. When was the last time you actually had an emergency about anything? 3 years ago, 4 years ago? You've not had an emergency. But we are using it as an excuse to be addicted to our phone. So what we have to realize is that as soon as we open an app, it's hopeless. I will just see if anyone's liked my picture and then you're addicted for the next 2 hours. Scrolling. So you realize that you have to break it right in the beginning before you actually get into that process. So that's how you think about mobile phone addiction. When
What do you do?
When people tell you, Ashdin, what is the bad habit you have? The only one that I have not been able to give up is the mobile phone. I have come up with so many different ways to try and quit. But every time I do it, something new comes up in the industry and it pulls me back in. Right? It's like Hotel California, never allows you to leave, right? It keeps dragging you back in. So I've done all of this. I have put a poster on my toilet door saying no phones allowed beyond this point. And it worked beautifully for a few months till I started ignoring the poster. Right? So you start realizing that you have to put all these little systems in place to try and make that change. My current way of doing it is to put timers on all the apps. So anything more than 20 minutes on an app, it automatically shuts off. So that's the way in which I've tried to make these changes.
Is it working?
It works for a while. Then you put off the timer because suddenly you have to do an Instagram live and the timer can't shut off your Instagram live in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then putting the timer back on becomes the next hurdle. So like I said, habits are all about falling off the wagon and coming back on. As long as you know the intention and you want to come back onto it.
So I also try my best, especially when my son says, washroom mein le jaun kya mobile phone? Not mobile phone, iPad. It's like iPad in the washroom. I said, no way. Put everything outside and then go.
Yeah.
Can I watch while I'm eating? No. Not allowed. Because you're not realizing how much is going inside and what's happening to your food, whether you're chewing, you're not chewing, you're eating, what is getting digested, because the quantity also you don't keep a track. So there are so many things that can actually, also have an impact on your health, overall well-being, your mental wellness, because sometimes you become so forgetful. I mean, suddenly I would realize that, oh, I was scrolling and I didn't realize that my son was supposed to go to school on time. So I start beating myself up also at times that why the hell am I looking at the mobile phone at this time early in the morning? So now I don't touch my mobile phone until 9:30. When I come back from the gym, that is when I open my mobile phone. Otherwise, I will not. Or if I have any important schedule which is planned, that is the only time when I will see. Otherwise, I will not open my mobile.
Because you're fighting your physiology. Your physiology is so geared up to checking what happened. Who has messaged me? Has somebody liked me today?
And I keep telling myself that I'm not a Bollywood figure where I have to constantly monitor what is happening on my page that I'm going to lose out on if I don't see the mobile.
And the best Bollywood figures don't know what's happening on their page because somebody else is handling it.
True. Absolutely.
It's only us who want to be Bollywood.
I know.
Get trapped into it.
You talk about habits that enhance energy and vitality. So can you share 3 high impact habits that can change someone's life starting today?
First one is sleep.
Sleep.
Sleep is the biggest one. Why? Because most of us think that sleep is a waste of time. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sleeping. I could have been doing so much more. That's how we normally end up thinking about sleep. What we don't realize is sleep is actually one of the busiest times in our body. It's when all the body processes are working, healing is taking place, all your hormones are being built at that time. What we need to do is we need to realize that sleep is extremely sacrosanct. You have to think about becoming a rock star sleeper, like an athletic sleeper. What that does is that changes the way that the rest of the day feels. You start making better choices. Every time you're tired and come home, you're going to reach for the cake, not the salad. Correct? So these kind of habits supercharge that. So the first one is sleep for sure. The second one is lowering your glycemic load. Because what happens is, where do we feel tired? We feel tired primarily after a spike and a crash in our sugar levels. If we can figure out how to maintain our sugar levels, we feel that vitality throughout. So I was doing a workshop in a corporate office one day, and I was telling them about how at 3 o'clock we have that low feeling or you feel tired, and this one person put his hand up and said, "Sir, I feel tired when I enter office." And I was like, "You know why we feel tired when you enter office?" He said, "No." Then I asked him, "What do you have for breakfast?" Poha, dosa, upma, all of these are basically high glycemic foods. Cornflakes, big spike, massive crash. And when do you crash? You crash as you enter office. So then what do you go and do? As soon as you enter office, you go get your coffee. What do you put in your coffee? Sugar. So that gives you another little bit of hit.
True.
So what happens is that we realize you're on a roller coaster of sugar throughout. And that's where a large part of your vitality goes. The third one I'll give you is slightly teda thought, which is a sense of purpose. A sense of purpose is a big giver of vitality to you. Because that sense of purpose charges you up. It makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning. It gives you something to talk about when you meet people. Normally when people don't have a sense of purpose and you ask them, "Chalo, kya ho raha hai?" What do they say? Same old. Right? Same shit, new day. No purpose in life. When you talk to somebody who has purpose, who's driven, who knows where they are going, they will always have something interesting to tell you. So that sense of purpose makes you feel alive again.
Right.
We were joking the other day about why politicians live so long. Politicians live so long, big sense of purpose and lots of people that they're meeting, right? So that social interaction plus sense of purpose is giving them something to live for.
Absolutely. Also, when I have actually noticed this about the sleep thing that you spoke about, in between, I had a very bad time in the sense that I used to always believe that jab sab so jayenge na, that is the time when I will start working. I get my peaceful time and I'm able to do a lot of, developmental work and all those kind of things. And in the bargain, I used to sleep at around 1:30, 1:45 in the night.
Correct.
But I have to wake up early because my son has to go to school. So if I wake up at 6:30, if I sleep at 1:30, 1:45, can you imagine the kind of fatigue that I can go through?
Right.
And if I have to then go to the gym, I'm not able to exercise. My body is hurting and my body is telling me that you can't work out. Then when I come back, I'm not able to keep my eyes open, but I still have to go to the office because I have a lot of other responsibilities to take care. And when I go to office, I'm not able to keep my eyes open again. So this continued for a very long time, and I just I don't know, like a dumb person, I couldn't understand why am I having this problem, and I was actually thinking of going to a doctor to see कि क्या हो रहा है मेरे साथ में, without realizing that I'm actually compromising on my sleep pattern.
Correct.
Then when somebody, not even somebody, when my husband said that, if you don't improve your sleep, nothing is going to work for you. And from that day, when I started sleeping at around 11ish, I know that if I go beyond 11, I can't work out. So if I sleep at 11 and I wake up at 6:30, I'm well within my time frame and I'm getting enough sleep. But if I go beyond 11:30, I'm dead.
Correct. It's an
Hota hi
immediate
nahi.
crash.
So then my body literally crashes.
Yeah. It's so funny how people, start inviting you out for dinner at 9 o'clock in the night, 10 o'clock in the night.
Exactly.
So now it is like, listen, if you want to meet me in the evening, it's 7:30.
I said the same thing. I don't go for those late night dinners. And first of all, I'm a very light eater in the night. I don't eat any masalas and in quantities and all those things. So if you have to call me and we should be done by 8ish. But everyone doesn't follow the same pattern.
Correct.
So then it becomes a little difficult because their biological cycle is different from our cycle. And then, it becomes very difficult to explain that, okay, I don't eat anything beyond 7:45.
But what I've noticed is that your tribe changes, your friends change. And that is perfectly fine. There'll be people who stop inviting you out, but there'll be new people who will come into your life and that will do it. So that's
perfectly
so that
okay.
vibe changes.
As long as you don't compromise on your health, it's absolutely fine.
That is the key.
And
So in
believe
fact,
me,
wake up early, do your work when you wake up instead of doing it late at night. That's a better way of doing this.
I've started doing that now. I've in fact started, the whole pattern has changed.
Yeah.
And that really beautifully works for me.
Yes.
And when it comes to socializing, I'm the last person who can socialize because I don't believe in the idea of staying awake for a very long time and then compromising on your family time. And there are so many other factors. If you want to call me for breakfast. Yes. I'm very happy. Yes. Call me for lunch. I'm very happy on a Sunday. But any other day, I'm not there.
The way that I like to think about it is nothing good happens post 12 o'clock. There's nothing good that actually takes place post 12. It is all deterioration. And what's interesting is that when you start looking at people, is that we have created a culture where we celebrate injuring ourselves. Let's have 5 shots.
Very true.
Right? We've created a culture where we showcase how much I can injure myself. And we were out till 4 o'clock a few days ago. For the first time in I don't know how many years, I was out till 4 in the morning. And I know how horrible I felt in the next 2 days. I couldn't recover at all. I had meetings in office that I was not completely there for. And you realize that, listen, this used to be my life almost every day for so long. Why was I doing this to myself? Why was I injuring myself over and over and over again?
True.
So what we need to do is stop celebrating bad habits, stop celebrating the injuries, and start seeing how we can start celebrating breakfasts instead.
Absolutely. And I love adding good habits to my health, to my life, also primarily because I love myself a lot. I think that narrative, if everybody understands that, self-love, once you love yourself so much that all these things become very minute or very small,
yes,
you will start engaging with the right kind of people, you will start attracting the right kind of things in your life. And the habits that you form also will be very different from who you were many years ago.
And self-love for many people is very difficult to even comprehend. So it doesn't start with self-love. Self-love you would almost think of as an end destination. You're very lucky that you've reached there. Many people cannot even figure out how to get there. So it starts by just at least increasing self-worth. How can I increase my self-worth slightly more?
Right.
Then how can I improve the way that I talk to myself a little bit? And that's the way in which we start at least making ourselves feel important again. Right now we think of ourselves as the least important person. And I'll happily sacrifice for everybody else but not myself. It means we are the least important people. So how do we make that change is important. First few steps, increase self-worth. Then afterwards we can start thinking about self-love.
True. So one thing that I spoke to you about a little earlier as well, what do you do about people who have this habit of procrastinating, delaying decisions, not able to take decisions, giving themselves 10,000 reasons to not do certain things? Uska kya kare? Because I see a lot of women in our office, in my industry, image consulting, they are so desperate to get into the industry. They want to have an identity of their own. But when it comes to taking a decision, something overwhelming happens to them and then they start procrastinating to take a decision.
Yes.
What do they do?
All procrastination is broken up into three parts. The three steps of the three kinds of procrastination. The first kind of procrastination is when something is too big.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, for many people, they look at that end image that they have to create and realize it's too big for me to do. Na ho paega baba. I can't do it.
Humse na ho paega.
Haan, na ho paega. Like, what is the point of me even trying? So that is where most people start and fumble. Before our session, you were saying that how many books have you written? Are you writing more? And I keep telling people, how many of us have a book within us that we've never actually written because we think 350 pages is what I have to do. No, I just have to focus on 200 words, 300 words. 300 words I can do in my sleep, right? I can break it down into that smallest part. And what we have to do whenever we procrastinate because something's too large is we have to figure out how to break it down into that smallest part. That is the first kind of procrastination. The second kind of procrastination is when something's too easy to do. I can do this anytime. Pay credit card bill, pay electricity bill, send that email out, book tickets for the movie. I can do this anytime. And anytime, you procrastinate to the point where the time has come and gone. Right? So that's the second way that we procrastinate. The third thing we procrastinate is when there is a fear that is latent within us. We procrastinate working on our speech when we're going to go on stage and talk, hoping that the event gets cancelled. Because so many of us have the fear of talking on stage. In this way, you ask yourself, so for example, some of your clients might not be creating their own businesses because they have a fear of failure. Some have a fear of success. What if I become very successful and I don't have time for my family? Fear of success. So you realize
that people have fear of success also?
It's a big one. It's more than fear of failure.
Oh my God.
I don't want to get promoted because if I get promoted, my friends will stop talking to me. If I get promoted, my friends will have to report into me. I'll have become their boss. We will no longer be friends. There are so many aspects where fear of success comes in. So these are all ways of self-sabotage. And these are all ways in which, and procrastination is one of the biggest self-sabotaging tools that exist. So these are the three ways in which people procrastinate.
Wow. Amazing. So, Ashdin, 95% of our behavior is habitual. And our subconscious mind has paradigms programmed into it. Can we correct this?
So by saying correct means there's a correct and a wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a good way of thinking about things, because then it's a judgmental way of thinking about it. And in any case, when you mean that you've got a paradigm, it means you've already put a judgment into it. This is good, this is bad. So instead, as a habit coach, what I start telling people is, don't look at good and bad. Start looking at, is this taking you towards your destination or taking you away from your destination? It's very simple. Every choice that you make in life is either moving you towards a destination or moving you away from a destination. You have to ask yourself, what is this choice doing? And take that choice consciously. Very often we don't take these choices consciously. Even worse, we don't know the direction we're heading in.
True.
Right? So we have to first figure out the direction we're heading in and then start making choices for that direction. That is the way that I would start seeing all of it together.
Wonderful. And can you share 3 steps that can truly be life-changing when it comes to
habits?
Yeah.
Step 1 is choose a direction in which you want to take your life. What do I mean by this? Who do you want to become? Let us understand that the Ashdin of now was probably something that my parents wanted me to be, was probably something that society wanted me to be, or something that school wanted me to be. Who is it that you want to become? And The second step is to write it down and imagine it without any boundaries or layers or holding yourself back. There's a beautiful line I love which says that please ask for more. The universe is not on a budget. Right? You are playing so small when your actual potential was so big.
True.
Because you did not think that you had the ability inside you. But the universe, everyone can see it, or at least it exists within you. So think about the direction. Next one is, if you are finding it hard to increase that, 10x it, multiply it into 10. I want 7 crores, no, you want 70 crores. Right? One of my favorite things to do is when people write down, I want to be very rich, okay? How much? Very rich. If I have 100 crores, I'm very rich. Why not 1,000? I never thought about it. Right? So you've always played it small. So increase that. So that's the second part. So first one is have direction. Second is increase the quantity of that goal that you want. Make it larger than whatever you think that you can possibly imagine right now. And the third step, which is the most important, is do the smallest action you can right now in that direction. Right now means even if it's just writing down the goal. Even if it is going on GoDaddy.com and buying the domain name like you did. Whatever is the smallest action you can take, just showcase to yourself that you're moving in this direction. And if you just start doing these 3 things on a regular basis, you will realize that you can completely change who you are and where you're going.
Absolutely. And I totally believe in this. Like what you just said, I have always seen that when I want to do something, even if it is in my subconscious mind, I will start taking action. And it just happens that my body and my mind, they will start working towards that particular thing. I don't have to do so much of planning and all those kind of things. It just works.
And the best thing is the universe helps you. What we mean by universe is strange people will come into your life that didn't exist, that are actually going to help you on this path. Where do these people come from? You can have a mystical approach and say, wow, the universe is supporting me. But a more practical way of looking at it is that now that you know where you're headed, your mind is actually picking up these people. They would have been ships in the night that would have just passed by you. But now that you're aware, you can actually put a beacon saying, I think this kind of person is going to help me. And that's how they actually end up coming into your life. So a beautiful way of thinking about it is that the universe conspires, the world conspires to help you out.
True.
We talk about a doomsday scenario that we create for ourselves. Why not think that the entire world is actually conspiring to help you out? I love that concept of conspiring to help you out.
And I think to some extent I attract what I want. I literally attract. I've always had this kind of a thing that whenever I've really wanted something very bad, it just happens. वो क्या है power? कैसे होता है?
Universe is not on a budget.
Yeah.
Universe is not on a budget. I love that. Ever since then, 10x. And add GST.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So last question is a very interesting one. And this is called Breaking the Mirror segment. What is that one myth around habit that you would like to bust today? That
you're set with your habits for the rest of your life. That habits are not such an important thing. For many people, habits are a bad word. Because we've been brought up telling people, you have to change your habit, you have to change, you have to change, you have to change.
और ये तो है ही ऐसा, ये तो है ही ऐसी.
So when I go to schools, and this is the first time I went to a school and I told them that I'm a habit coach. All the children's faces went, pooing. Right? And I suddenly like, oh shit, I have to change the way that I approach this. I can't talk about habits as the way that I talk to an adult. Because parents have constantly told them, go brush your teeth, it's a good habit. Why are you eating sugar? It's a bad habit. All the things they enjoy are bad habits.
They're categorized.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is to realize that habits are not bad things. Habits are things that are happening in any case. Might as well become aware of them. And whatever habit you start changing today is going to change the course of your life. So the earlier you start changing it, the faster you can change the course of your life.
Absolutely. That was so amazing. And I was like totally into this conversation, literally. Thank you so much, Ashdin. It was wonderful having this
My pleasure.
Amazing conversation. Very, very insightful. And a lot of people will also come out of this mindset that once a habit is formed, it is for life and I will die with this habit.
Yes.
And that's not the case. I think anytime people feel that they can change for the better, that's the time you can start changing the habits.
And immediately, like for example, the entire Habit Coach podcast, and there are 1,500 episodes that people can go and listen to, was all designed around this, that you listen to an episode, you understand a habit, and you implement it immediately. Don't wait.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And
Thank
lovely
you for
having
me.
you over here on the show.
Thank you.
ये कॉन्वर्सेशन एश्टिन डॉक्टर के साथ एक रिमाइंडर था कि हैबिट सिर्फ रूटीन नहीं, एक माइंडसेट होता है जो आपके हर डिसीजन को शेप करता है. मोटिवेशन पर डिपेंड करना बंद कीजिए और छोटे एक्शनेबल हैबिट्स के थ्रू अपनी लाइफ को अपग्रेड करें. आज हमने जाना व्हाई गुड हैबिट्स ब्रेक, कैसे स्क्रीन एडिक्शन और सेल्फ सैबोटाज से डील करें, और कौन से 3 सिंपल हैबिट्स आपकी एनर्जी और फोकस को बढ़ा सकते हैं. अगर आपको ये एपिसोड वैल्यूबल लगा तो लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब जरूर कीजिए. और ऐसे ही एपिसोड्स के लिए परसेप्शन एंड बियॉन्ड को फॉलो करना मत भूलें. अंटिल नेक्स्ट टाइम, रिमेंबर, रियल चेंज बिगिंस एक छोटी हैबिट से.